All right, and we are live. Hopefully, we have working sound, working video, just working stuff. I think everybody has working audio this morning that we've checked so far.
We have working sound.
Stuff. Yep. Oh, I think everybody has working audio this morning that we've checked.
Yeah, everything's working.
Everybody has working
Yep.
audio.
Make sure if you don't have earbuds, turn the sound down. Otherwise, it's just going to bleed through.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Somebody's
All right.
rooster just decided to wake up.
Well, if you're going to set an alarm clock, that's the one to set.
I don't really even hear that because I have roosters around me and just don't hear the sort of sounds anymore. Like church bells, for example. Since we have like church bells here going every 15 minutes, since we are in rural area, and I don't hear them anymore. And I'm basically like maybe 10 meters away from the church.
Yeah, I've got some animals around me as well. Chickens, I don't mind. There's a bunch of sheep not too far from me, and they can be really loud. And then I've got this one guy down the road that's got a couple of donkeys. And
those can be loud, yeah.
You can hear them from miles away. So. Hey, Chris.
Hey, audio check.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, excellent. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not that bad, I hope.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, no. It's just everything. There's one thing I didn't get done today that I wanted to have done this morning, but I can do it tomorrow morning. So no worries.
There's stuff I want to get done every day that I never get around to. So, like, there's never enough time.
A friend of mine is having a Star Trek themed costume party for his birthday tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And I was going to go as Cyrano Jones, and so I needed to make a bunch of tribbles. So.
That would be cool. It's funny you mentioned that. I was kind of bored late last night, so I watched a couple of episodes of Deep Space Nine. It was just on Netflix. It was pull up some Star Trek, rewatch some. I've seen every episode of every series at this point.
I didn't. I think I got through maybe about 5 episodes of Enterprise, and I stopped after that.
Yeah, it was definitely the weakest one. Well, I don't know. Voyager I didn't care for. Some people love it, though. I don't know.
I love Voyager.
There were certain aspects of it that I liked.
Yeah. Thought they rushed the ending of it.
Yeah.
Like the final season of it wasn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. In the YouTube chat, somebody's asking about VPN services. I don't use any. They're asking about NordVPN and Surfshark.
I don't use VPNs for that kind of things. I use it for what is made to be. Connections to my server.
When you say you don't use it for that sort of thing, what are you insinuating?
I'm not insinuating it, but okay. I don't.
Nefarious purposes.
Exactly.
I use VPNs for the reason they were made. To make a secure connection to a off-site or on-site place or a server. That's how I connect from school to my computer at home.
Yeah. So you don't use it for illegally streaming stuff like most people?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't stream stuff.
I think I'm going to take silver blue off this laptop. It's just not working very well.
Yeah.
What's not working?
Oh, I put, for the challenge, I was going to put try to see if I could get the silver blue working on the on my test machine, since I run Fedora 31 as a daily driver on my production machines. I know we're not supposed to do that, but I do it anyway. And it's just GNOME is trying to do Silverblue with GNOME on this laptop with 2 gigs of memory and one core with no hyperthreading is just not working.
For me, it was working on a VM.
Yeah, but you probably had a better resources than I
probably
have on this hardware. So
yeah, giving a GNOME one thread of a CPU, it'll depend on the CPU. Like if it's a weak CPU.
Yeah,
yeah.
It depends on speed because anyway, what's it called? GNOME runs on a single thread, so
Right.
it really doesn't matter.
Well, has anybody done any hopping other than Chris? I'm still running Arco, so I'm at least on my main machine.
Well, we just got done with Ubuntu Studio on over on Biddle, and so that's about all the hopping. I haven't done anything with my daily drivers. I'm True Blue Fedora on that.
Now, I have liked Ubuntu Studio in the past, but in recent years, I've liked Ubuntu as a whole a little bit less because, like when I was running the NVIDIA card, getting NVENC to work was a pain. Where Fedora, it's a lot easier, and of course Arch is where I've kind of settled on because Arch has everything.
I got what it called NVENC running on Ubuntu, latest Ubuntu's. What I did, I copied the package from 1804.
Yeah. Now the 1604 series of Ubuntu, I ran that for 2 years, the main version, but I also played around a little bit with the studio version as well. And those were great. But 1804 was like everything was different. Some of my hardware didn't work. It's like, do I stay on 1604, for another 2 years? Because it was supported for 5 years. And that's when I hopped to Manjaro, like 2.5 years ago. And then I just kept hopping. I never went back to Ubuntu. I've tried it a couple of times, a couple of different versions, Budgie. I've installed Ubuntu Budgie on my laptops a few times. I like the desktop, the Budgie desktop. But there have been some big distro releases in the last week. I was looking at Distro Watch earlier. There were some things I wanted to check out. Endeavor had a release.
Yeah, I believe they released their what is called installer, net installer.
Yeah, so I wanted to check that out. Antics had a release. Antics 19.1 is out. Farron OS had a release. Calculate Linux had a release. So I like Calculate. I actually installed it on my main machine about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I ran it for a couple of weeks and it broke on me. But, it's rolling release. It happens. Woke up one day, didn't have a working Xorg. And then I hopped to something else. Rather than fix it, It's like, well, I can spend a couple hours and investigate the problem or just keep hopping. Slow down on the hopping, though.
Tell the truth, if Calculate is putting out something, I'd be disappointed if it wasn't full-term.
Yeah, this looks like they offer a bunch of different versions for this release. They have the Plasma, Cinnamon, LXQt, Mate, and XFCE. Yeah, I might download one of those after the stream is over.
I already had, basically, I was 50% almost going to hop myself.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking of hopping to is actually Gentoo.
Gentoo? Okay.
Yeah, it was this week. My laptop, dual screens didn't want to work for some reason. So I was either thinking of doing complete hopping to something different from Arch, or fixing Arch to work with those screens. But at the end, I fixed Arch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people ask me all the time too, now that I have, this machine with the Threadripper. Like, now that you got a decent CPU, why don't you just hop to Gentoo? It'd be great. The compile times wouldn't be that long. I was like, yeah, but there'd still be compile times. And what am I doing all that compiling for? I'm not gonna play with use flags, and I don't want to build everything from source to tailored to my needs. I just give me a binary.
Me neither. I would probably make a server into a build server, so it'll basically all the time just build new packages, and I will have a binary repository to install it for me.
Like, I like playing with Gentoo every now and then. It's neat, but it's just not. It's not for me. It's not a distro for somebody like me. That typically I just like things that are quick and easy.
But install isn't even that hard, in my opinion.
No, it's not the install that's the problem. The install you only have to do. It's the updates.
Yeah,
that annoy me. Yeah, it's
crazy with compiling, but
yeah, when if you did a full Plasma desktop and you wait a couple weeks between updates, and all of a sudden you have 250 updates to do one day, and that update takes an hour and a half. It's like,
that's why you offload it to a different system. You don't even know when update is happening.
Yeah.
You just update the binary repository every so often, and you get new stuff whenever it's available.
Probably what I would do if I wanted to do something Gentoo related, I'd just do a Gentoo based distro that has binaries. Some of them give you that option, Calculate, Sabian, or if you want to, you can use a merge and all that, or you can use some of their pre-built binaries.
I was actually one time thinking of putting Pacman into Gentoo.
I don't know if that would be recommended.
It wouldn't be recommended, but I know it would be possible, since I believe Google uses apt in their own Gentoo-based distro, or emerge on Debian distro. I don't know which way is it around the internal distribution. I believe either is Gentoo-based with apt or Debian-based with emerge. I don't know which is it.
They base Chrome OS off a Gentoo kernel, but they like using deb packages. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it is technically possible to have a package manager that isn't on the based on the distro, but how recommended it is you're on your own.
Make package with like Yay or Trizen or any of that. They pull down debs all the time, and
it's really easy. Basically, actually, like pulling debs and making a package for Arch isn't even that hard, because all I have to do is extract it.
That's all it does.
Pull its instruction where to put stuff, and then put it in the right directories in the package tree of for Arch, and it will make a package out of it. It's a really easy thing to do.
Yeah, those deb files are just a compressed archive. So
Just like any other package, they're just compressed archives. Only one that I can think of are those that are like Snap, Flatpak, stuff like that. And even snaps are actually just squashfs images and nothing more.
I do know it's possible on Arch to use package managers other than Pacman, but they really don't
break.
They don't
reckon.
Yeah.
I have once done. I actually did sudo pacman -s apt and updated apt repository.
Yeah.
It broke my system.
Because I've had a few people in the last couple of years that have run Arch, and they know I run Arch, and they give me these weird problems they have. Hey, I broke my Arch install after an update. How do I fix it? And it's like, well, what did you do? And they said, well, I did a sudo apt update. I'm like, wait, sudo apt update. How did you, like, dude, I'm not helping you. It's like, I refuse. One guy, he did XBPS update, which is the package manager in Void Linux.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you get that installed in Arch? Why did you install that in Arch?
It is just a package, nothing special. Problem is that it will replace, when it is installing packages, it will replace files of Pacman packages, and that creates problems.
Right.
The
Well,
one thing about Pac-Man that has always kind of got me has been the switches.
Mhm.
They don't seem to make any sense. I mean, like with DNF, I do a dash by4 as part of this standard, which means get to check for the closest repository or the closest mirror. Answer yes to any of the questions, because I run this in batch through my cron tab most of the time, and then 4 means he is IP4 versus IP6, because I don't have any IP6 stuff running. So
yeah,
I found that Pac-Man requires you to be in root, and Yave requires you not to be in root.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
because Yay installs AOR, and AOR is cannot be built. AOR packages cannot be built if you are a root, because that's a security issue. And make package program first thing checks if a user is root, and if it is root, it will not work at all.
And Pac-Man, why does it require you to be root then?
Because it is installing packages.
you're making changes to the system.
You're making changes to /etc/opata/usr.
So there's
Yay requires your password at the end of it anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
when it connects to Pacman, when it does a sudo pacman-u command, at that time it will require your password, because you're doing a system change, and not just
when you first run Yay, it's just making the package, and it doesn't need your password. But at the very end, it asks you for your password, but that's actually running a pacman command, just like you normally would have to give pacman your password. Because it's making major changes to your system. Like they said, it's putting stuff in /etc and /bin. Like, you have to give a password for that to work.
It is running either a pacman command or an alpam command.
Yeah. And when you build the system, when you're first installing Arch, you're doing it as root anyway. So that, until you do switch root back.
Anyway, you cannot install packages on Arch other way than root, because you're changing directories like user, usr, opata, etc, bin, and those are root owned, because if you change them from root, system won't boot.
A good way to think about that too is if you've ever compiled something from source, you do configure and then you do make, but at the end you have to do sudo make install. You have to give it root privileges to actually install it. So,
like that coffee mug, DT. I love that coffee mug that you
thank
got
you.
there.
My RTFM, and by the way, I use Arch. Right.
Yeah.
I downloaded Ubuntu 20.04 daily the other day. Gave it a try.
Cool.
With ZFS, and it started out okay. I don't like Ubuntu, so I put the Kubuntu desktop on top of it, and that started out okay. But after a couple of days, I lost the system settings application, so I couldn't change any of the Kubuntu system settings. It just disappeared as if it never been there to begin with. And ZFS, you can set NFS file shares on a data set, so you can access whenever the data set's mounted. It mounts it as NFS as well. That works in Ubuntu 19.10. It doesn't work in 20.04.
That would be because 20.04 is a beta release, not even, it isn't even frozen. So versions, so packages are kind of broken right now.
Yeah, it's daily, so you expect it. So I'm giving it a miss for another month or two. But the fundamentals seem to work okay. If you were running just Ubuntu 2004, you'd probably be okay for most of your stuff. But
yeah, for the beta software, if you wanted to do Kubuntu, you probably should just go grab the Kubuntu daily image and start
but
there.
The problem is Kubuntu doesn't support ZFS yet. So you have to. This is just a workaround until Kubuntu is supporting ZFS.
Well, ZFS isn't a release anyway. It's still
it's even by Ubuntu people consider
it looks like a pretty interesting system. I'm kind of excited about it, but I mean, they still haven't gotten it out of beta. So
but even then, I still don't understand the point of using ZFS on a single drive system. It's totally
an alternative to ButterFS.
Waste of it's in many cases waste of resources.
You say it's an alternative to ButterFS? Chris?
Yeah, except for it takes the entire drive, whereas with ButterFS you can do one partition.
Yeah, but ZFS is completely different file system to ButterFS. It's meant to be used for servers, for multiple drives to then stripe together and then make volumes out of it, or do Z rates and stuff like that.
OpenSUSE is using ButterFS for their desktop systems.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
But I mean, like yesterday when I bricked one of my Fedora, upgrading it from I didn't brick it, but I mean something got screwed up upgrading from Fedora 29 to Fedora 31, and it totally didn't screw up the operating system. I was able to put the Fedora 30 on it and got everything back. So that's all right. But if I had ZFS, I could have done an image of the system prior to doing the upgrade, and then do the upgrade. Something went wrong with it, then I could go into the rescue and pull up the image. So
I do that all the time. I have a ZFS root file system. It saved me 3 different instances I can think of offhand. I have a development machine, and I didn't use it for a couple of days. Booted it up and rebooted, and it hung on application is waiting for netman system D service to finish. Never did finish. After a minute and a half, it went through, but I never got a network connection, and I couldn't debug it. So I did a rollback to a day prior, and same problem. I did a rollback to 2 days prior, and it came up normally. And then I just forgot about the problem. I ignored the cause of the problem, and it just went through as if nothing had happened. Nothing went wrong. So it's useful. I did another one on my other system where I installed a package called bash run, and I don't know if it was malware or not, but I got psychedelic menus all over the place. And so I backed it out to 15 minutes earlier. It was back to normal as if nothing had happened on it. The other time I shouldn't admit this, but it happens to everybody, right? RM-RF, wrong folder. 6.5 gigs later.
Yeah.
I thought I was too good to do that, but I did not. But I went back to the ZFS snapshot, copied over. 15 minutes later, I had everything back as if nothing had gone wrong.
Yeah. The good thing is once you've accidentally deleted the root directory or your home directory using RF, you'll never do it again because from then on you'll start typing it in a better way to where if you fat finger something, it doesn't completely ruin your day.
That's why I mean, if I have something full of directories and I do dash RF, I think better of it. I'll go down through the tree and delete.
Yeah, navigate to the directory. Yeah, exactly.
What I did, I was writing a bash function, and I forgot to put the low-level file name, folder name, hard-coded in there. So it deleted the parent folder and everything under the parent when I ran it.
I totally screwed up a production install one time because I was using disk off of GNOME, and I didn't realize I was on my active partition. I deleted my the entire drive, not the drive I was trying to reformat. So it was like, thank God I was the only user that had anything on there, and so I didn't really lose anything.
Yeah. I'm always amazed at the people that use DD for everything, and yet, and they swear they've never overwritten the wrong drive or
right.
It's actually not that hard to not
CPIO for that matter.
Of course, it's not good fun.
I have never done anything with DD that I didn't want to. It's not that hard. Just have to watch what you type.
If you have enough drives in a machine, it's really easy to do. Like if you're dealing with 6 or 8 drives, all it takes is you just have a brain fart. You think
wrong
you're
letter,
right?
Wrong letter, but if you
I
know what you're doing.
I almost lost my entire home directory of like 2 terabytes of like games and everything because I don't know if anybody else has this issue, but a lot of time in like any of my terminal emulators, if I have like 2 of them open side by side, and i3, if like the line's kind of short, if this column is kind of short, and I start typing and it gets too long, and then I like backspace or move the cursor. And when you hit backspace or something, like you erase something, it like messes up where like what's on the screen isn't what's actually there. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it, but so basically, I was copying one folder to another folder. So like CP-R, like, and then I was using the tilde backspace, or I mean tilde backslash, and then the path to the folder. Well, I had to go back and change something. The tilde and the backslash got separated. And so that if you just type a tilde, that's home.
Right.
So like these folders were only like a couple like just some documents, and so it should have copied like instantly, you know, and it wasn't. So it took like after like 3 seconds, I was like, wait a minute, and I like canceled it, and like I'd lost like, you know, like maybe like 3 directories that had like some not really too like important stuff on there, but like it was the biggest relief in the world when I realized I hadn't lost everything, because I came like real close to just like, you know, because sometimes when like CP like hangs and stuff, I'll just like let it finish, but like if I'd let it go, you know, 5 minutes or something like that, I'd have been screwed.
Have you investigated that problem you're having with your terminal? Does it happen in every terminal emulator, or just
Yeah, it happens with Kitty. It happens with GNOME Terminal. I mean, and it's happened which it only happens on i3, I think, that's just I guess that's just because where, you know, in i3 the panes are, you know, fixed like, you know, which I don't know, like if I have,
because I've used so many different tiling window managers and, you know, terminals. We've got a million terminals open. I've never had that situation happen where you're typing something and it's not really displaying what's actually.
Yeah, that's because it only happens. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's dangerous. So I would even consider hopping to a different window manager, because one day you're going to type, you know, a slash for root or tilde for home, and you're going to have a bad day.
That is standard thing. Even in SSH, sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes, but like it only happens. It only happens if the line that I'm typing goes, which I guess I could fix this by decreasing my font a little bit, but I ran out of contacts and I need to get some more, so it's hard for me to see. But like,
you know what, that would be a good fix if it works. Have you tried just zooming out and then zooming back in to the correct font size? It might correct itself.
That also would help, yeah.
It does sometimes, but one thing, it always like I've kind of figured it out since that happened. I kind of figured out the way to like read it when it's messed up, and like also, you know, like
go back and forth with keys. Just go back to its start and then back to end of and it will correct itself. That's what I found out.
Is this only happening in the terminal emulators, or is it on the VTTYs as well?
No, it's only emulators.
I had seen that.
So it's,
well,
it's a rendering problem more than anything.
It's something with T4 and rendering. There's something messed up in there. It's a problem I've seen before, and just going back and forth. So basically, it rechecks what is there.
Yeah, if you run the cursor back over everything, then it tends to
correct itself. Yeah,
but I hadn't really worried about it until, like you said, RMRF root.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then you never let it happen again. So now I make sure to always. And if it looks like kind of funny, I just Control-C and just start over again.
Yeah, me too.
I can't deal with that.
I actually once from a server deleted a directory of really important stuff. And then 10 minutes later, I was thinking how to fix it. I figured out that, I probably should have deleted it. So why did I look to fixing and getting it back? Then I started over again, and it was all better.
So I've got a super chat from Alex in the YouTube chat. He says, "Good morning, guys. Question: why don't a lot of people like Fedora? It's making my heart hurt." I think most of us here like Fedora. I know I've used it in the past, and I quite like the distribution. Chris is a big fan, and it's BigPod's favorite distribution. So,
not really my favorite, but it is working quite okay. And I know two guys who would never switch away from it. So
yeah, there's a lot of people that just love Fedora.
I saw Nate in here. I mean, he would. He likes the RPM packaging, but he prefers SUSE or OpenSUSE. I guess he dropped out already. Darn.
But doesn't he run the rolling tumbleweed? Yeah, he doesn't do the static.
Yeah.
So, which I guess you could do.
I was talking to Glorious Eggroll last night, the guy that does all those custom Proton builds, and he was talking about how we were talking about the Mesa ACO Git package, and there's two different versions, one in the Valve AUR and then one in the blah blah blah. Either way, he said something was why he switched back to Fedora, and I was like, well, for one, you're an engineer at Red Hat, so that makes sense. But what I said was I like Fedora. On my laptop, I always run 4 distros, and I run 3 Arch-based ones and then Fedora. But my only thing is Copper and all that to me is basically just kind of like PPAs, and I just don't like keeping up with them. But if something on an Arch install ever messes up, I always go to Fedora. I like Fedora a lot.
Yeah, somebody in the chat was also asking me why I said I liked Fedora. So for me, I don't care about the desktop environments and things like that. For me, it's all about the underlying stuff. It's mainly about the repos. And Fedora is one of those distros that I can find everything I need in the repos, and it just works. So your video encoders and all that, for what I do on YouTube, Fedora just works.
I think that's why there's a certain stigma to Fedora, is the fact that you have to do RPM fusion.
You have to, for me, I have to enable 2 non-free repos. I have to do RPM fusion, and I have to do United RPMs. Or is that
I think that's the biggest objection I've seen from people.
Right.
Plus, they say DNF is slow, but
DNF is quite slow. It's written in Python.
Yeah, but Python's getting a lot faster, and plus, I was thinking about going in there, seeing if I could.
But there's a lot of package managers.
Version of it.
There's a lot of package managers we use that are, written in Python or have a Python wrapper. It's not just DNF, so that's not an excuse if it's slow.
One of the things I love about DNF is if you're in your terminal and you type a command and it doesn't, you don't have it installed on your system, it'll say, did you need that? Do you want to install this package to provide this? That's one of my favorite things. Whenever I go back to Fedora and that happens for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, I always forget, but I love that feature.
If you don't know the exact command for DNF, you just kind of type something around it, and it'll say, "Are you actually trying to install this package? Here's the command you really need to type." Yeah.
Well, I mean, RPM in general does a lot better on getting your dependencies taken care of. Although apt has really stepped up its game.
That isn't actually a problem of the package manager, because package manager doesn't know what the dependencies. It's all written in a package. So if the package says these dependencies are needed, then it will install these dependencies if it can, if it has these packages. And basically you set package names, and that is all on the package creator to write correct dependencies inside.
And many of us here, I'm sure, are running rolling releases anyway. We're used to having to manage some dependency issues occasionally, because you're going to have missing dependencies. If you run a rolling release, things change. Yeah, I just had an Arch update last week where I guess they moved some stuff around, and my sudo pacman-syu failed because there were some breaking dependencies. Which is one of those situations you probably should read the Arch homepage before you do the update.
Yeah, but I gotta say the upgrade to 31 seems to have worked pretty well, except for that one machine. And this has been the smoothest upgrade I've had, in the fact that I haven't had to reinstall a bunch of my repos, like for Dropbox or for Zoom or anything like that. It seemed to be able to go out there and get what it needed, and it seems to work. I'm using 31 on this machine that I'm using Zoom on right now. So
yeah, okay.
What do you guys think about Silverblue, though?
I think it's garbage.
It's an ambitious project. It's still in its infancy.
It's different project.
Yeah, it is.
It's like Android.
I like it. Not really.
You know what I mean? Of course, it's like not exactly the same thing, but like it's the lockdown feeling that I get. It's like if you made a whole distro out of snaps. Like it's.
Well,
I don't have.
Well, it is Flatpak based, so
I don't really have. If you're like, I mean, I understand like on the server and like stuff, and in the enterprise space, like you've got to have like lockdown stuff. Like for that, I think it's great. I mean, but I don't need that's not my use case. Like for like a desktop like distro, it would drive me insane. Like I would not be able to use it.
Yeah, it drove me insane when I was using it.
Didn't draw me insane when I used it. It was quite great, the whole system, how it worked, and how you had certain level of control over it, and certain stuff were locked down that were actually good to lock down. Like the package management is somewhat locked down, which is, in my opinion, good.
And what does it matter if you build a distribution around snaps or Flatpaks? It's not like you're forced to use that distribution. If that's not, I don't know.
So ransomware, I got stung.
Ransomware in Linux?
No,
okay.
I didn't personally get stung, but up here in British Columbia, if you take a blood test, it goes to a company called Life Labs, and they got burned, and they paid the ransomware on it.
Wow.
Huh. Yeah, no, that's quite a normal practice in many companies.
Yeah,
they pay.
It's common with big corporations and with government organizations. Sometimes they get hacked and they get held hostage, basically, and sometimes they just have to pay the money. I mean,
there's not much choice either. But I was thinking, I did a search in ZFS ransomware, and sure enough, there are instances where you can use a snapshot and back out of it. So that's possibly another advantage. The thing about ZFS snapshots, they're in a hidden folder called .zfs. And normally, if you go into File Manager and say Show Hidden Files, it will show all the .zfs, all the dot files. It won't show the .zfs. It's doubly hidden. So if you want to see the .zfs file, you have to enter a ZFS command at the terminal to make it visible. So seem to be better protected from things like
No,
that.
not really. If it's a directory, it will most likely it will be swept up in encryption. That's what most likely will happen.
They're encrypting files and folders. They're not encrypting drives, and they won't see that.
But once, if it is a directory, it automatically will be seen.
Has worked for other people.
Probably, but not too many, if you ask me, because normally it should just if it's written correctly, it will just sweep up every directory it can find that exists, basically. Just go through all of them.
I thought I saw an example where they actually listed the files and folders that they had encrypted. At least in one instance, they did that. So I don't think you can make a blanket statement like that.
I know. I have seen a couple of times. I've seen the ransomware, and many times they leave alone just few select directories so system can work.
Yeah, they leave your OS untouched as much as possible, and infect your data drives as much as possible. Yeah.
I hope you don't mind if I interrupt real quick here. I'm just wondering, can anyone hear me? Just want to make sure my
Yeah,
microphone.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, just want to make sure my microphone is actually working and that Pulse Audio isn't forked.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey guys.
What's up, Ben?
Hello, guys.
Really not liking the Fedora for one thing.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
We all love it, Ben.
I'm sorry, but I'm in the minority who doesn't. Well, here's what happened. So I tried it a couple times, and honestly, it's just...
You tried what?
You know... What?
What's your normal distribution of choice, just so we have a...
Well, it's either something pre-built like Ubuntu or something pre-built of Arch, one of the two.
Okay.
Because honestly, I have done Gentoo in the past. I've done Arch in the past from scratch, but honestly, I'm getting tired of that. I don't like having to, well, anymore. I don't like having to spend hours in the command line screwing around with that kind of stuff. To me, I'm in college now. I don't have the time to be screwing around with, you know, building crap from source.
So in other words, you need something that will just work out of the box the second you install it, with a graphical user interface that allows you to use something like LibreOffice or whatever else, right?
Basically, yeah.
Windows.
So what problem have you had with
Windows?
To do that for me, I don't know what.
Just the Anaconda installer is like, ugh.
Oh, I hate
Well,
it.
yeah, Anaconda installer is stupid.
Yes, that's why I don't want to touch Fedora, because it uses that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now,
I feel like that is a valid
limit
reason.
yourself because of something that you perceive doesn't work well. I have no problem with Anaconda.
Well, Anaconda for me is a confusing piece of crap. I'm like, no, not to bother with it. Now, if they went to something like Calamari, that I could understand, but you know.
Well, the thing
Anaconda
with
is just-
Calamari I find is that I can't get my boot partition to work. I have to go into Fdisk and set the flags manually.
Right, well,
Calamari
I
is
have
always
that
worked for
problem.
me. Calamari is always worked for me.
Yeah, same with me. And
Yeah, same
you
here.
know, if Fedora or these RPM distros would just switch to that, that would be fine. Now, another complaint I have is the package. That to me is another complaint. I'm sorry, but RPM or DNF or something like that, I just can't make sense of it. It's just head.
It's a straightforward DNF update. Boom.
Well,
I don't know what.
Yeah, that I can understand, but getting my daily apps, I'm sorry, that is another head grinder.
Well, you have to enable some extra repositories.
Yeah,
for some of your
that
stuff.
I cannot. That I cannot fathom. I'm sorry.
And that's if you need to look the command up to add that repository, you just type it in.
Yeah,
Google,
I got it.
There it is.
Honestly, that just is too much.
Yeah,
it just
It's the
is.
same as any other distro.
Well, so basically you're saying that you've used the AUR and you can't go without it now.
right. That's
Right,
where
exactly, exactly.
Which that's how I feel. But
Yeah, and you know, that's why I'm like, wanting to stick with, pre-built distros who just sort of give you everything, because honestly, the door where you have to add, third-party repos and crap like that, that's just too much work for.
Hey, Chris, the chat is saying Chris is a little lower than the rest of us in volume, so if you can bring up. Yeah. They're asking me
I'm
to
a
adjust.
little bit further away from my mic than I normally am too.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I like distros like MX or something where they sort of give you all the hand-holding capability of a lot of other things, because honestly, it's I don't like having to screw around with third-party repos and etc. That's just.
How's this sound?
Yeah,
that's a little bit better.
That's a
try
better
Orch?
storm.
I can go a little higher too. So.
Yeah.
Well,
Ian, have you
to
tried
be
Orch?
honest, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
There we go.
No, I was just wondering if you tried Orch yet.
What I've done Arch, like I said, and I've done the other complicated distros, but like I said, those, like I said, I'm in college and I don't really have time to screw around with those anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know you had used Manjaro in the past, Ben. Have you thought about
Yes, I have, and I've even, I've made my own custom versions of distros before, but it's just the fact that I don't really have time to update those things as much. Like I said, I'm in school now, and I don't really
College does take up a lot of
maintaining those
time.
things.
For me, school doesn't take that much time.
Well, to be honest, if you're not that interested in tinkering with Linux anymore, the Ubuntu LTS is where you want to be.
Yeah, that's probably where my future.
Get on 2004 in April, move to 2004, and stay on it for 2 years. And then go to 2204 in 2 years, and then the 20.
Yeah,
just every 2 years.
Yeah, but the only problem with that is that you need to accept all the crap that they include, including like Snap or stuff like that.
Right, I get that. Well,
you'd have to do that with any distro to do what Ben is trying to do, which is just have something work and just never play with it.
I mean, all I really do on my computer is game and do schoolwork and watch YouTube. That's basically it. That's really what I do is just video games and etc.
Then Ubuntu.
I mean,
hey, Ben, have you tried Hackman?
What, Derek?
Have you tried this great operating system called Hackman?
I'm the developer of that, Derek.
I know. I'm trolling you.
It's okay. Well, nonetheless, well, someone's got a drum going on.
If you're whoever that is, may need to mute themselves while they're not speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, nonetheless,
okay.
I'm probably gonna just move to Ubuntu or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I would try that, and then as a last resort, if you have to, I know you used to be a Mac user. You may just have to put Mac OS back on those MacBooks you're using,
or go Windows.
If you
Actually,
I'm not gonna try and hurt you guys, but I am actually on Windows right now.
Oh,
actually, for school, it actually makes a lot of sense. At least for me,
I'm not gonna try and kick myself in the foot here, but I am using that.
I love how Ben saved that for the very end of the conversation. By the way, I do have that one machine running Windows. He didn't want to admit that.
It's actually a machine that I upgraded to 24 gigs of RAM last night.
Oh, yeah. That's nice. Huh.
Yeah. And it's actually Crucial RAM, actually. Or they're one of the two, but yeah.
Okay, so do you have any of those like really annoying classes that absolutely require you to use Microsoft
It's
Office?
an A+ class.
Yeah,
actually.
I have that. That's the entire school for
actually,
but we get Office for free.
Here's the thing. My school does not actually have a Linux class on it. I went to their curriculum site, and they don't have any class in there that has Linux mentioned in the name.
Huh. Mentioned in the name, but I mean,
there's a lot of classes. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
my school is in Kentucky. That's where I live in Louisville, and they actually have.
Me too.
Is locally, but unfortunately, the schools here that are local to me offer a Linux course period, unless it's a Cisco course. So,
yeah.
Well,
but in campus, there is none of the classrooms have Linux on any of their computers, nor do they offer a course in it.
But my systems administration class was a Linux. In fact, it was Fedora Core 6 is what we were using.
Really?
And yeah, with KDE, imagine that.
Oh, nice.
I'm using KDE right now. I actually quite like it.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
cool.
but I
I'm
mean,
using
that
it
was
right now
back
as
when
well.
KDE didn't know what it was doing, and it was it was buggy as all get out.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
KDE, especially like Plasma 5 a few years ago, was just absolute rubbish. It was like broken. Everything was just.
I wish they would have kept up the development of KDE 4, but unfortunately things.
No.
No, definitely not.
Right. Well, I have to say, Plasma 5 has gotten a heck of a lot better.
Oh yeah, to the point where it's like the RAM requirements are almost that of XFCE. Like,
yeah, KDE 4 was so slow and bloated and buggy.
I mean, it took forever
like
to log in for one thing.
I mean, GNOME 3 has become the bloated desktop environment.
The bloated environment. Yeah.
I tried using GNOME 3 for a while, and I just I could use it, and then eventually it just got to the point where it's like, this is bad.
No,
like, not to rag on the GNOME users, but I mean, like I have a really hard time with GNOME 3.
Yeah, when you log in and before you ever do anything, you pull up a terminal and launch HTOP, and you're using 1.1 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on?
And especially on Fedora, because it's using Wayland as a default. So.
Yeah. And Fedora has most crappy implementation of GNOME ever.
Which is funny because they're the primary developers of it.
I have school. I go to school now, and we had 2 classes, half of which were Linux, and every time I got to the classroom, I started holding my head because 99.9% of every student didn't know what they're doing with Linux, and we are IT school, IT class, all of us.
Yeah,
and they didn't know what to do with Linux. One guy clicked on was in a terminal and was clicking with mouse on OK, trying to go.
Oh dear God!
Oh my God!
Oh dear God!
Wow.
Yeah, I was in a class where we were supposed to learn test out, which is the equivalent of the A+ course, okay? And there was some, Linux things on there where they're using Ubuntu with Unity, okay? Which told to me that this course must be old as heck.
Yeah.
Like they were using Mojave from Mac OS and then Windows. Okay, whatever. And then there was this girl with a shawl on her head, and she did pass the course, but she had to have a lot of help. And I'm like, I feel so bad for this girl. And so
was it specifying Windows 8.1 too? Or?
No, they were still showing Windows 7 and Windows 8 in the
my God.
Yeah.
Okay, 8.1 is okay, but 7 that is.
Yeah, I was like,
well, I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I was like, what is this school doing? Showing 8.1 and Windows 7 in their curriculum. I'm like,
my word.
Jeepers creepers.
Yeah, I think 8.1 was one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I can understand. Yeah. But I'm like,
the best version of Windows.
No, the best version of Windows was Windows 3.1.
Windows
Well, anyway.
3.1, 3.1.
It was all downhill once they went to 95. So.
All right. Well, yeah. So they had a Unity version of Ubuntu in the simulators. I'm like, what is
well, and was this year? Is this like now?
I think it's GNOME. I mean,
yeah. Oh
at my school,
but yeah, I ended up passing the course and getting an A in the class, so that was a good thing.
Oh, that's good.
Well, we
you
would
still have to know this old crap, right? Because in my company, we used to have Windows.
It was the funniest thing in the world.
It's not like everybody's been using Slackware since 1990.
So I have worked for companies in the past couple of years, that still run Windows 98 and still run Windows 2000. So
really?
Yes, I have seen those machines out there.
I'm pretty sure
that's
that a local grocery store in a town not
yes.
well, it's kind of a local grocery store. I'm pretty sure they run DOS on their cash registers.
If you go to any large retailer or supermarket, like he was saying, don't be surprised if their POS systems are running very, very old versions of Windows. Yes, XP or older sometimes.
I was reading an article the other day about one of those millions of articles. I think this was from PC Mag, but one of the million articles you see now that Windows 7 is end of lifing. Like, if you should switch to Linux, blah blah blah.
Nobody's going to switch to Linux.
No, they're not. But that's not the point. The point is, I don't think they are either. But it was saying that a lot of these like companies that are still using XP and all that, it's because they have a very specific app that their entire business runs on that's only built for that, you know what I mean? And they can't afford to have it built for, it was built for them or whatever, and they can't afford to have it built for Windows 10 or Windows 7 or whatever.
Well, Microsoft is still supporting XP embed. So the Internet of Things that are still running XP as a microcontroller and stuff like that, they're still being supported.
Don't be surprised if you see your ATM rebooting into Windows XP. Don't be surprised. That's a common occurrence.
Surprise me out.
I've gone in the drive-through at Culver's before, and they've been then like a Windows 7. You could tell they were running Windows 7 on their ordering system, and because there would be an error message, and it would be the Windows 7 theme and all that stuff, and then sometimes you'd see the Windows 7 bar.
The arrow theme.
Yeah.
What I love, the companies that get, I was going to say the companies that get my money, or when I go into your store and I see your system go down, but I see it reboot and I see it's running Linux, I keep shopping there. So the other day I was in a pizza shop. It's a large pizza chain. It was Papa John's here locally. The ordering system went down and it rebooted, and it comes back up, and I was like, man, they're running Red Hat.
I believe Donuts here runs some sort of Linux.
Yeah.
Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are running BASIC on an 8-track tape drive.
Right back in.
That's awesome. Oh my word.
Well, I look at things like VMS. VMS ran on machines that had, if you're lucky, 3 megabytes of memory, or 4 megabytes of memory, and it was able to handle 7,620, a large amount of users. And hell, if you had 512 blocks on your quota for your disk quota, I mean, that was a hell of a lot of space.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with gigabytes.
Nowadays, you can't even run a single browser tab without taking up 2 gigabytes of RAM, basically.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the web being bloated. I mean, that's not. That
was also when Archie was the thing. When you wanted to search for a document, you used Archie.
I mean, that's a whole nother topic that I could rant on forever, is how bloated the web has become. I miss the web of the late 90s. I really do. It was fun.
We should start a movement to bring back Gopher. Like your website runs on Gopher.
Derek already started that.
They have?
Derek has. He has a Gopher site.
Well, everyone should have Gopher sites. That would just be one.
Yeah. Anybody that wants to check it out, pull up the Lynx browser in the terminal and go to gopher://distro.tube.
Yeah, it's just a static, not HTML. What does Gopher use? Is it just like a text?
Yeah, it's just plain text.
Plain text with some form of markup or something.
It loads so fast too.
Yeah, but I think the main problem is that the developers of today don't have any concept of the amount of data that they're actually using and the memory bandwidth of what they're using. We've just recoded and
pretty pictures.
Yeah.
They've been
We basically just
massified.
recoded an entire application we have for our business, and we've basically gone from every message being 5 gigs to being 2 megabytes. From just removing all the crap that is around this.
Yeah.
Can someone explain to me why why a lot of people who develop software will pre-allocate memory instead of allocating memory as they go along and freeing it when they don't need it anymore?
Speed.
Virtualization.
Speed.
Yeah.
Speed, and so they can't run out of memory, so something can't go into the space they want or they know they will need.
Okay, that makes sense.
Kind of like a prefetch command, which is funny if you look at the scammer tech support, and they'll start going into the prefetches, and people don't know that it's prefetch, and then all of a sudden they see all these errors because it failed to get something, and they're like, "Oh, see, these are all the hackers on your system."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the bloated web, and I think Peter Jansen in the chat has identified the problem. He says he blocks all JavaScript.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
JavaScript trackers are a big thing.
Why do most modern JavaScript engines take up so much system resources?
Because it's an interpreted language.
Problem is interpreted language. Second of all, problem is that everybody embeds so much JavaScript in there. If you just remove trackers, JavaScript trackers that are inside websites, your web becomes super fast.
Plus also what you get is you get a bunch of coders, you don't get a bunch of programmers. So you get people who know how to code in JavaScript. They don't know how to program computers. And so now you get the spaghetti code all over the place. And
it's not optimized for
right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, that would be like if I tried to program right now. I have no idea how CPU architecture works. I don't know how memory works. I don't know how to do proper memory management. If I tried to write code right now, it would probably be a bloated mess with code all over the place.
But on the other hand, do you really need to know that to make a program? No, you don't. And most programmers don't need to know that. People do think that you need to know everything. That's mainly because many people who say that were taught by assemblers and stuff like that. We're talking about languages that do all that for you. So problem is people won't go optimizing if they don't really need to, because it adds complexity. It adds potential errors. So many times it is much better to leave for it to be more bloated than to add additional complexity or potential bugs, because
the thing is, if you know how to program one, it doesn't matter what language you're doing it. It's just a matter of syntax at that point. And two, you know how the architecture works, therefore you're not programming in the bloat to begin with, and then you don't have to go back and optimize it because it's already optimized by
forget that. You can't write it.
Forget that. That's where you get the bloat.
What if you're only writing a program for one specific platform for a company?
Yeah.
What if your company wants it only for one specific platform and they want it to be optimized?
There you go, but that costs significantly more than making it just a general program, because it takes a lot more time. Because first of all, you want to solve the problem. That's how they teach you now. First of all, just solve the problem. You make a program that works. Then
a company like that
did you make it correctly?
Yeah, they would hire somebody for the job anyway, somebody that knew what they were doing. They wouldn't outsource it or try to find a freelancer on Fiverr. You know, like some people are doing for their websites.
That's another big problem, because people are just taking people who don't know crap about this stuff to make them a website or make them something. But
I just realized something, Big Pod. If you painted those squares black and painted the lines yellow, it would look like you're in a holodeck. At least the arch of a holodeck.
Right.
Anyone notice that?
Well, now that you mentioned
it, attention to that. No.
The other thing about bloat is that if you try to package a Python program, not a script, full program like duplicate, you need to put it in a container, and 3/4 of that container is not your code. It's you could consider it bloat or overhead if you want. So
let's not talk about containerizing Python, because that is a beast of its own.
Why would
it snaps.
My brain just broke.
That's what I'm saying.
The background.
That was me hitting myself onto my phone, because I freaking hate containerizing into a Snap, a Python application. That is so hard.
How do you really feel, Big Bot?
I am so angry. Still, I'm so angry at that.
And the people that complain about Snap and Flatpak or any other container format being bloat, it's only bloat if you have no reason for this thing to be in a container to begin with. If you need it to be containerized, then it's not bloat, right? There's a reason for it to be in that container. So.
Yeah, it's like if you're trying to would there be a good reason to containerize a web browser, like to sandbox and containerize a web browser? Or
no, not really.
No, because you're gonna have to. Yeah.
I'm just trying to
establish a baseline I've done that.
To get an example.
I've got an app image for Firefox, and I use it all the time in other app images I create. So you want to be able to launch some web pages that independently of what browser's on your system. So I've got Firefox running inside an app image, and I display them inside that Firefox app image, and it does not interfere with whatever you're using on your system. So I've used that quite a bit.
But otherwise,
somebody else. Go ahead.
But otherwise, there is like no security or stuff like that that would make sense, because even in itself, JavaScript is containerized. Ironically, even though that containerization is crap, you can still break out of it. But otherwise, there is no actual security point to doing it, because many of these containerization technologies still give you at least access to kernel, and that's where actually it means something. More point of containerization is separating files and separating the dependencies. So that's why many of us containerize certain applications, like especially on servers, Docker and stuff like that.
So there's no security benefit of containerizing Facebook?
Almost no security benefit.
Yeah.
App images have absolutely no security at all. Zero. Snaps, you've got
snaps.
For, so you have some security there.
Yeah.
On it, but app images, absolutely nothing.
But
that's always been the knock on app image. That's always been the complaint. Yeah.
You can put fire jail inside app image and do it that way if you're familiar with that, but you have to do the extra work manually yourself.
But then why, like if your application doesn't need any sort of security, containerization, sandboxing, anything like that, then why bother with it?
Yeah, exactly. You have your choice with that.
You have, one of the reasons is dependencies. You don't mess with the dependencies that are already in a system, and you don't mess. If you need an older dependency, let's say you need a dependency that is, let's say, one version below, and they aren't compatible.
Yeah,
you will still be able to run that program, even though you don't have both of those dependencies directly on your system. That's why you would use, so you can specifically decide which version of dependency you want to use.
Yeah,
and with that, you do not disturb anything on the actual system.
Yeah, I understand that, but I was talking about the security features of things like Flatpak and Snap. I mean,
those do have certain effects, but they are not that. You get like a separation of file system.
Yeah.
You get stuff like if you disable network, you don't have network access and stuff like that. But that's all iffy at best.
Yeah.
In the chat, Telsaurus is mentioning you could have two conflicting dependencies on the same system.
Yeah.
I think that's a bonus. I don't know if he meant that as a negative, but yes, being able to run two different versions of software or two different pieces of software that have different dependency requirements that conflict. That's a benefit of containers.
That wasn't quite my point though, because app image is just like an image of a file, so like an ISO file system that's that has all the dependencies in it. So my point was that if you don't need the security features of sandboxing, then you can use something like an app image to just throw all the dependencies together and have your program just run on whatever system you try to run.
An app image can be as small as 288K and have one line of bash code in it. Hello world. It's ultra lightweight on it, and you can just build it up from there. So I've got some actual app images that consist of one line of code on it. For instance, you might have one that's called Crusader or KRU, and all it does is inside it launches Crusader from inside the app image. And what you do is you have a home folder, kru.appimage.home, and it will use that home folder for Crusader settings. It won't use it or interfere with the settings on your system. So I can set up my Crusader settings and then copy that app image and that home folder over to another computer, and it runs identically on it. And also you can use it to back up your settings. So it can be ultra lightweight and quite usable with just one command. Like you could use it for OBS. You could put OBS in there and then have your OBS settings inside that home folder, and you can back it up and restore it that way. And so it is quite practical to use app images minimally. I've been spending 4 months on it, so I'm quite enthused about app images, as you can tell, I guess.
Yeah, one of my predictions for 2020, I don't know if you guys saw the video I made a couple of days ago, was that Flatpaks would see much more widespread adoption, and things like Snap and App Image will fall by the wayside because Snaps is canonical, and people tend to just hate everything canonical. But App Image, I'm just disappointed App Image hasn't caught on more, because I think it's interesting. I think it's a nice alternative to both Snap and Flatpak, but nobody seems interested in App Image at all, really.
And that is unfortunate, because why wouldn't they be it's similar to .app files with Mac OS, except you have an ISO file system and an image instead of a folder. But why wouldn't that catch on? That's a fairly decent idea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I like app images a lot. I hope to God Flatpaks don't catch on, because I hate installing them to find .platform whatever the hell you're trying to install, and then to run it, you run org.flatpak. Like, that is a nightmare. And if any of those people that are pushing Flatpaks hope to get people to switch from Windows like with that, then they're dreaming, because that is a nightmare.
Snaps work way better, in my opinion.
Yeah, Snaps, once you integrate it, which I mean, I only have like 4 Snaps anyway, but I'm on Arch, so I don't really need them. But like, when I run Snaps, at least they integrate. Like if I sometimes I have to use the Snap version of Electron Player, and because the AUR version sometimes messes up, and vice versa. Sometimes the Snap version messes up. But like, once I run it once, then I can just type Electron Player. I don't have to do like Flatpak run
the full name.
But I think that the main problem with Snaps is the way that Canonical chose to implement this. That they essentially, whenever you try to install one application, they suddenly come in the form of a snap instead of the ordinary dep, and without telling you,
their usual,
getting pissed
their
off
usual shadiness.
Exactly. And my personal grievance is also all of the loopback devices that you essentially get for every one of your snaps that you're running. You get another loopback device, which look like crap.
Well, as far as you're installing stuff and it's being installed as a snap without your knowledge that it is, I mean, that's an Ubuntu thing. many of us are not running Ubuntu and using Snap. So that's
I'm
only if
moving away
you're
from that. I'm still
Right.
moving away from that. I'm still fighting Arch to get away from Ubuntu.
Yeah. So snaps run great on Arch. Flatpaks and app images as well. Yeah, but snaps run just fine. Matter of fact, the Snap Store runs fine on Arch. If you want to install the Snap Store, which is just the GNOME Software Center, but it connects to snapcraft.io.
I can't use
I
snaps on my distro.
There's no way to back up and restore a snap. If your system crashes, then you have to reinstall your snap and reconfigure it. From
You
what
can-
I've been able to Google, I may be wrong, but
It has certain backup systems
it has
inside
it
Snap.
has snapshots.
Yep, and at the end of it, Snap is just a directory on your system. In a
Couple of
way,
directories, isn't it?
it is a directory at the end of it. So if you back up the whole system, you will have to reinstall it, yes, but then copy this directory and it will work. Okay.
Yeah, at some point in the future, I'm gonna go on and take a weekend or so to back up my Ubuntu server, because I still have a Ubuntu server, and switch it all over to Arch.
That's my server of choice, actually, Ubuntu. If I set up
mine
a web
too.
server, I always go Ubuntu LTS server. Just done. Right.
My server of choice is
Yeah, I
the
just have so
hardware
much
portion
set
of
up on it.
Ubuntu.
Plex, websites, all that. So.
Well, you know why I use Ubuntu servers, oddly enough, since we're talking about snaps? It's snaps.
Okay.
If I want to set up a Nextcloud server, snap installed, Nextcloud done. Boom. Sets up the lamp stack, everything. You're done in 2 minutes.
It's easy.
Right.
But the only issue is that you are choosing to do that. It's not done for you by Canonical knowing better than you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything major like that is good in snaps like Kotlin or KDN Live or major applications are good for snaps. Lighter weight stuff, maybe not so much. And BigPod. You put duplicate source on GitHub, right? You did a really good job of that.
What? Didn't hear you. Can you please repeat?
Do I need to speak louder?
No, there was some lagging.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you've got duplicate source and GitLab, I think it is.
Yeah, we have that. Yes.
So I downloaded it and I made an app image out of it. I made 2 app images out of it, and they run beautifully. The snap that you've got loads in 7 seconds on my system. The first one without the runtime on my system installs in a 1.5 seconds, and runtime inside the app image runs in 3 seconds. And
yeah, but normally the first time starting Snap will take a hell of a long time. But what I've tested after that, it loads like normal.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I'm looking at the DupliSeek page on GitLab as well. I need to follow that. Heck, I need to clone it. Yeah.
It was really well done.
Derek, you can use AUR. We have that on there.
No. I'm gonna try the snap package if you have one.
Then sudo snap install.
Sudo snap install DupliSeek, but you don't have that on the page. You need to add that to your documentation. You have the pip install, but you don't have a. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna drop out for today. So have a good day or good night, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for hanging out with us.
You too.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to help out the DupliSeek guys, just do a quick commit here and add the snap install DupliSeek to their documentation, just for completeness. Maybe Murray wants to go ahead and add the app image as well.
Gonna do that right now.
That's just for my amusement. Not my program.
Yeah.
Okay, he cleaned that up.
Well, I'm sure they wouldn't mind it being packaged in a different format for folks that want it.
I hope we didn't chase Ben off with the anti Fedora talk.
Huh. Well, he was the anti-Fedora. We were the
we're the anti Fedora.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, hopefully, it just sounds like he's had a tough time with Linux. You know, he's been a Gentoo user for years, and you know he's had a lot of bad installs and bad updates. Probably, so,
Well,
it wears on you a little bit.
Isn't it where you used to say that Linux should hurt at least a little bit?
Yeah,
Linux
Linux
come
should
from Gentoo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just comes from any Linux, really. Whether you're running Ubuntu or Fedora or whatever, you know, Linux should hurt a little bit. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not doing it right. Huh?
So, please.
But yeah, if you just want to set it and forget it, kind of distro for a laptop, for some school or work, yeah, I just put Ubuntu on it and just be done with it. So let's get into a little bit of predictions for 2020. Any of you guys want to throw something out there? Something crazy maybe that you think might happen?
Predictions up on Discord. Or Discord.
Oh yeah,
Discord.
Yeah.
Little Discords. Yeah, let me just get mine so I can read them out to you.
Were you watching last night, Derek? Or
no, I was busy. Unfortunately, I was able to join like 2 minutes before the stream ended. I just couldn't get here in time.
Okay, so you didn't hear any of our.
I didn't get to listen to any of the show last night. No. I'll have to rewatch it.
My serious prediction was that the fact that we're seeing the end of Moore's law, no longer are we going to be seeing processors doubling in power and what have you, because we've sliced the wafer too thin.
Moore's law's been dead for a while,
though. They seem to keep pumping out the CPUs, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But with the
my guess, we will be going in the chiplet way of
the chiplets is why
that will bring a lot of power into the more or less the speed will stay the same or it will increase slowly, but the chiplets they will gain a lot of power, and that will be cheap and how to quickly get a lot of cores in.
Yeah, Moore's law is kind of like an outdated paradigm anyway, like the way it looked, like transistor size purely as the way to determine how the processing power.
On every 2 generations, the what is called the lithography will shrink and the power will double. That's an old concept that is logic that it will stop working.
General guideline. It was never a firm. This is exactly what's happening. But with what I was saying is we've pushed the technology as far as we can with silicon, and so we're gonna have to start.
Lithography can't go any smaller. Problem is it can't go any smaller.
Exactly.
Because
I think
everything is right on atom level.
AMD has a couple. It won't be next year because they're going to get ready to go down to 5 nanometers. AMD's a couple more Ryzen launches of like huge performance gains. I think like Zen 3 is going to be insane, but I'd say in the next 3 or 4 years, then it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen next year. But
AMD has a lot to gain just from optimization standpoint, but once Intel gets into the chiplet game, in my opinion, what I've seen like in past and what kind of people they have, probably they would mow down AMD again, because if AMD was able to do that, then probably Intel probably do a lot more, because if you just check at how they can do with, for example, cache. The cache on Intel CPUs is much smaller but much more effective compared to AMD's cache, because it is much better, and the stuff surrounding it is much better.
When I first was taking my A+ back in the late 90s, there was only L1 and L2 cache. Now there's an L3 cache that's being used to pool between all the
L3 cache. L3 caches together.
Soon there'll be Octane, so they have another level of cache.
But I think
No.
I think Chris's prediction is right on. There's only so much they can do. I mean, AMD's already making a 128 core processor now. I mean, how far can you take the current technology?
I know.
Red processor, not core, but red processor.
Okay, so a 64 core 128 through. Okay, whatever it is, it's crazy.
I believe I have seen even more thread CPU from Intel, but it is a low powered, believe it was something like 1.5 gigahertz, the Xeon Phi chip. But
that's one of their server processors.
The server for the processor for a very specific thing that requires high thread count, low speed, but those are mainly used in very specific tasks.
Yeah, but you're
And
still
what
going
kind
to
of
have
cooling
develop.
requirements do you need for that?
Not that much better than now, because anyway it is a lot more low power, so it outputs a lot more heat, just more spread out because it's a bigger die.
Yeah, but you're still going to have developers that is able to utilize.
Anyone
all these external
think in the
cores,
future
right?
might be organic?
I think it'll be crystal.
Crystal.
Like we have to move away from silicon eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
right. The
silicon will
limitations
have to be.
I don't think it's quantum, at least not for like 20 years.
Yeah,
You know, like,
my opinion, we will go
be
to some
quantum, but-
metamaterial, something that will be invented for this reason, probably using
or
AI
like carbon
to help
or
us.
like nanotubes, like that kind of, you know.
And I kind of expected some of you guys to go AI here for some of your predictions. I mean, is this the year that Skynet becomes self-aware? Or
No, 2050. I predicted 2050 we're gonna have ASI. Bring it now. But my predictions were probably sound and probably too ambitious. But one of them I'm certain it will be true. I'm like 75% certain. Office will not be released for Linux in 2020.
I have. Go ahead.
And I'm certain of that because as far as I know, there is no big rewrite of Office in 2020. They'll just do an incremental upgrade and not a big rewrite, which is what is required for them to bring it to Linux, because they will have to leave behind technologies that are Windows only, and some of them are not even in active development anymore.
My prediction, I have a prediction and a comment on one of your predictions from the video, DT.
Okay.
Well, in the video, first, my prediction, I'm saying this because I want to be optimistic and kind of put it out to the universe. Somebody mentioned in the chat the EAC thing, and I know Big Pod is going to disagree with this.
Yeah.
I don't think Epic is going to bring. I mean, they already have a native easy anti-cheat client for native games, but I think that $25,000 grant to Lutris is for getting the Epic Game Store and easy anti-cheat, like trying to help with that, and that shows at least some sort of even if it's not, it shows interest in Linux. Even if it's only 25,000.
There is interest. Problem is that how fundamentally easy anti-cheat on Windows works. That's the problem. For Proton, but remember that how easy anti-cheat works actually works using a part of a Windows kernel. So you would have to emulate.
It's malware. It's
no, it's not malware.
It's a lot of people say it's malware. It's
not malware. It is using a part of a Windows kernel that is set up for stuff like this, for actually checking stuff like this, and it is working with using that, and because of that you cannot just emulate it, because you would have to do you have to emulate Windows anti-kernel in Linux.
But the thing is that it was
that's
working.
The problem.
It was working. It was just it was allowing Wine with Apex Legends was working, and it was allowing Wine to register as Windows. And
it depends on implementation of which version of easy anti-cheat they use, how hard they push in the anti-cheat. There are many different aspects.
That's what I think. That's basically what I think
of.
With my prediction, that's what I think is going to be.
I believe Easy Anti-Cheat guys and Steam are working together to actually get Proton working on Easy Anti-Cheat, and we haven't heard news about that for a couple of months now. So
Right.
I don't think it will happen anytime soon, if ever, because of how it works.
Well, what I like you said, there's implementations of it that can work. And
yeah,
what
it's
I'm
basically
thinking
how
is that,
hard you push it and all that.
right. And I think that it's possible that in the future they will kind of I hope tend towards the implementations that will work better with wine. Hopefully, I'd like to make a prediction that the game industry will move a little bit more away from that kind of anti-cheat, but I feel like the games industry is getting more and more DRM and more they want to be able to access the kernel and everything.
No, it's not. That's not the point of the why Easy Anti-Cheat is uses. It's because of the way Windows kernel can check stuff like this. It has certain level of access to your hardware, and you can see if someone is actually doing the things you should do when playing the game compared to what is actually happening in the system, which technically you cannot do without access to the kernel.
Well, but I mean, the thing is that we don't need that. I hope that Easy, like I wish that they would just move away from Easy.
We do. There are reasons why we need anti-cheat software. How many games you have people who are hacking?
That's not what I said.
Yeah.
Not what I said, Big Pot. I said that I hope we move away from the easy anti-cheat style of anti-cheat, because Battlefield 5 has an anti-cheat. Like Punkbusters works. There's other anti-cheats that work through Wine. And like Battlefield 5, you don't hear, it's not Fallout 76 where you hear people rampantly cheating and that kind of stuff. That's what I was saying, is that I hope we move away.
We can just look at GTA 5 and how anti-cheat detection works on a grand scale. Basically doesn't work at all. You have basically patch comes out which fixes basically takes, and basically nothing is changed. 2 hours later you have
what was the prediction before we got on the easy anti-cheat? I don't even know
what the end of the silicon.
Okay. Well, when you said that it came up that Microsoft might buy Canonical.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. A real possibility.
Hope so bad. I think it's going to happen, but I think it's going to be terrible. Somebody was saying that it could be
it was me.
Very better for Linux adoption.
and
that kind of thing.
That was
in my opinion. In my opinion, it would be better.
Well, the thing is that I think that Windows is trying to. I don't think they can fully pull it off, but I think they're really trying to do a kind of embrace, extend, extinguish, but not necessarily. I think they're trying to pivot and have it be like embrace, extend, turn it into our thing, like turn it into like something for Windows. And I think that everything they do that incorporates Linux gives people one less reason to use Linux, like the WSL.
Maybe the old.
They're simply trying to make money off of Linux.
Right.
Basically, they're businessmen. They see they see a problem. They know they can either destroy it. That's one way of thinking. It's the old way of thinking, or supposedly the old way of thinking.
I don't think that they're going to attempt to destroy it. I think that what they're doing to try to make money and increase their profits is going to, as a side effect, make people have less reasons to use an actual Linux distribution, especially with all of the things that you can do now with WSL, and it's just, and having full, like they have Kali Linux and Slackware and Ubuntu in the Windows Store, and
Microsoft is not going to spend a very large amount of money to buy a company like Canonical just to extinguish it. They want the they want the server technology. They want all the cloud stuff.
They want the cloud stuff. They want everything like that. And I think they will actually then go, if they do, they will then go into more, at least not promoting, but at least trying to get them to get more Linux, because they have Azure. Azure is, or at least VMs on Azure, are more than 50% of them are on Linux. If they can actually make you, if you won't use VSL, at least they can give you a experience they can support, and with that they can make sure what stuff are on Azure will work correct. They want that for Linux desktop, at least from their side. And I believe I'm gonna paraphrase one of the, it was Torvalds or Greg Hartman. Everyone who helps on kernel, everyone who helps anything with open source, or basically anything with software, is selfish, and it's doing that for their own reason. Whether it's you, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Google, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Canonical, it's solving their own issue. Whether that is money, whether that is feeling good about yourself, that's all selfish reasons.
I just hope somebody like Red Hat buys Ubuntu Canonical before IBM does.
I don't think Red Hat's going to buy.
Yeah, and Red Hat is owned by IBM.
IBM has what it needs.
Testing, you guys.
IBM has what it needs. They have Red Hat.
Yeah, they don't need another company.
One of the competitors. Only reason IBM would be buying Canonical if they want to destroy the competition, because there is. Because that's what Canonical is to Red Hat.
All right. Let's get some other predictions here. Josh, give us a prediction. Let's get some of the folks that haven't spoken.
I
know you got something.
No, you fine. I would say more cloud adoption, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're talking about specifically the Linux.
Yeah, the Linux space, but if you got anything not related to Linux, you can go off topic. We don't care.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I'm interested to see
desktop as a service.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
pretty much what I was trying to say.
Clarification of desktop, that's gonna be a big thing in that couple of years. I think that like many enterprises already use VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure. This will become more and more prevalent also in private user space. Start more with more like gamery people. Well, whether you're gonna have either games on cloud or on public cloud, like for example Stadia, or you're gonna have games on local cloud, like your own local, like for example a desktop. You can then play the same game you play on a desktop. You can play on a desktop and it runs on 200 FPS. You can then play on a laptop that is basically an i3 or even an ARM CPU, for example, even if the game doesn't actually work on that, because everything is happening on a completely different computer. Same with desktop. We could have an ARM desktops, ARM laptops, and then you could have an x86 server or even just a desktop running somewhere completely different, and you can use that to have access to x86 x86 applications, ARM applications, and all around everything. That, in my opinion, that will be the future of compute.
And another prediction I'd like to throw out there, speaking of the streaming services like Stadia, and even some of the technology like Proton, are we going to see stuff other than games? Are we going to see things like the Adobe Suite or Office Suites, using stuff like Proton? Because I think that would be a game changer if I could get my proprietary software.
A lot of corporations do it already now.
Yeah.
Locally.
And it isn't just office productivity. It's going to be things like Minitab, Tableau, CAD.
CAD's a big one.
Autodesk already does it, for the most part.
And that's what I was going to add with the rollout of 5G as well.
Yeah.
That's going to be a
5G isn't going to be affecting this.
5G won't be, my opinion.
Well, I was talking about the tablets that you just brought up.
At least for local.
Wi-Fi 6 too.
At least for local, local clouds and stuff like that. A rollout of high speed internet, LAN internet, like
Yeah,
that will be a lot of powerful.
It could be that you can buy these extreme bandwidth, but you still have latency issues, and you're not going to solve the latency with bandwidth. You still have that issue.
Yeah, but for most normal applications, latency doesn't really matter.
It highly depends on which application it is, because someone also mentioned the CAD suite, right? And at least in my company, for us to push our CAD drawings outside the business perimeter will never happen. They simply do not trust any company our IP.
For most, at least in local networks, that's what I think, especially companies actually do now. And actually, even for certain things, you won't actually even have a local installed CAD. I know certain companies use AutoCAD for, let's say, over the network already. The latency in local network in LAN is negligible.
As long as you're only talking about our local LAN and having stuff running in our own data center, yes, I agree with you.
Yeah,
if you're trying to push that to the
Microsoft
cloud,
already has created a version of Azure for to run locally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're still going to be doing the cloud. It's just going to be a local cloud.
Computing on the edge is a thing, and even then, what I've seen from Azure, the virtual desktop on Azure, it has quite great latency. The problem is depending on how far away you're from data center, and again, it's also what kind of internet, what kind of latency your provider gives you. It all depends. If you're on a fiber, you're gonna have a lot lower latency than if you're on a old school copper network.
Any other predictions anybody wants to get in?
I've got half prediction, half wish.
Okay.
Ubuntu 2004, the ZFS becomes popular about this time next year. People recognize the benefits of having ZFS restore integrated into Grub and the backup and the snapshots, and it will start to take off, and hopefully the other distros like MX or Peppermint will start using ZFS as well.
Well, I think that's a safe prediction, actually, because so many distros base off of Ubuntu.
I think ZFS will mainly stay in a server environment and won't be used that much in a desktop environment.
We'll see this time next year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. It depends. It depends on what the installer, the graphical installer, does by default. So many people just do the automatic partitioning and everything. If Ubuntu decides to do ZFS by default, then but I don't know if they would do that.
And then again, how many people wanna actually back up system states? I personally think that's a great waste, and I personally back up just specific directories which are basically on my NAS.
Through cron tab or
but do you actually want to back up the whole system state or just important applications? That's the part we're gonna have to decide on. I personally,
let's say you do it every third day, and on the third day you take the oldest one, you overwrite it. I mean,
I personally am more of a fan of backupping applications than system states, and system starts acting up, just reinstall and put a backup of files back on instead of going to restoring a system state.
Yeah. Anything else for 2020?
That there's going to be some improvements in Pop OS, and GNOME will see some improvements with their performance, as well as we might see another repo on Flatpak, aside from FlatHub, maybe.
I think that's a safe prediction about GNOME will get better because it can only go up from here. I kid, GNOME guys. I kid. Anybody else get it?
I have a prediction on Canonical being bought by Microsoft, and then their focus will shift to only focus on the server side for their cloud to replace their own Sphere or whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
their cloud ones.
Azure Sphere is actually for IoT, so
yeah, and
it's actually it is meant for a security, and they have certain level of security because of it, and it is not meant for servers and stuff like that.
But I'm certain that Microsoft is going to mainly focus on their acquisition of Ubuntu is going to be on the server side, and then they're going to lose total interest in the desktop. That's going to be my prediction for next year.
I don't think they will lose
they're not going to lose the desktop
because they will want to produce a desktop that will be like first experience.
Yeah, but
mainly because
there's zero money in that for them.
DupliSeek fails to build in the AUR right now for some reason.
I have to fix that. Great.
Filing a bug right here.
home mat temp DupliSeek package build, line 30. User bin DupliSeek, permission denied. A failure occurred in package. Aborting.
Which one did you choose? There are two DupliSeeks.
Not get.
Okay. What's wrong?
It says permission denied. It sounds like he doesn't have permission.
But I typed my password.
Yeah.
On the server it works. It hasn't popped up the error. Let me see. Let me do it here.
And like that, I'm running XFCE on my laptop. That I was running Silverblue before. So
good thing I'm on Arch.
I think that's a respectable decision by you, Chris, to move from GNOME to XFCE.
Yeah, well, it was not going to work on this laptop, and you know, I was going to try to do a full review of it for Biddle, but
you don't
my
have
review is that I can't get it to work on this hardware.
Yeah, you don't have a strong enough machine for right. All right, well, we've got about 10 minutes till
Matt,
noon.
can you please in chat send me what the error message is?
Yeah.
So since we've got about 10 of us, let's each take about a minute for a last word, because at 12 o'clock, there's a kickoff for a big game I have to watch. My Saints are playing, and I'm going to watch that game. So let's get a last word from Big Pod. Big Pod, give us something.
This is the end of the year. I would like to thank you, Derek DistroTube, for being such an awesome guy. For you were one of the main people that made me stay in Linux, made me maybe pursue Linux. Basically, you're one of the people who held the door open for me. It's been like a year and 3 months since I really used Linux, and you were one of the people that were a reason I did it.
Well, I'm sure.
I thank you for that.
Once you found Arch, I mean, there was no going back to Windows, right? So.
And I found Arch because of you. First time I installed, followed your instructions, and you helped out a lot.
Yeah,
my journey. And I'm so happy I can give something back to you.
I appreciate that, Big Bud. Yeah, that installation guide he mentions is now obsolete for those of you that haven't installed Arch.
Actually, the first one, it was really great, and the new one was great as well until they made it obsolete.
Yeah. 2 weeks after I posted the video, the Arch guys just ruined that video. All right. Willie, give us a last word, sir. You still there, Willie? Willie may have stepped away. Matthew, you there?
Yeah.
Well, I was talking to Matthew Hill, but that's fine.
Oh,
go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Matthew Hill.
I'm not sure if he's here or not. He is also muted and it's not on camera. Well, go ahead, Matt.
No, I just, I guess I'll go ahead and echo what Big Pod said. Like this is my first year on Linux.
Great.
And I didn't come to I came to it I went back and tested it out, dual booted for a couple months, back in 2017. But then that laptop died and I hadn't used it since. And this year some stuff came up, we had some computers that just Windows was garbage, couldn't use it anymore. And I was like, well, screw this, I'm going to Linux. And so I did. And then after about that first 2 weeks on Ubuntu, I was like, went full distro hopping and started looking into everything, and I found like the Unix porn stuff, and then like I decided to try i3, and I swear I would not have been able to do it, like to be able to like wrap my head around it if it weren't for your you know, window manager hopping thing, going through i3 and kind of explaining how to configure it, like, you know. So I'd already decided I wanted to try to use it, but like your tutorial basically, and which I've used for like a ton of stuff, your tutorials, and I just like, you know, want to say thanks for everything. You know, it's my computer is a big part of my life, and so you know, it's a lot of other people that aren't involved with like computer like enthusiast stuff or Linux might not understand what a big deal it is to be able to have your computer be something that adds joy to your life instead of something you have to fight against.
And it's all about freedom.
Yeah, having that freedom, like it's a big deal, and I don't know if you always realize what a big like improvement you can help make in people's lives. So I just want to say thank you for all that.
No, appreciate that, Matt. All right, Chris, send us out with the last word.
I want to thank you for doing the chat today. I mean, it's been a while since I've been able to join in with you, and it was really, really good. It was good going back and forth with Big Pod about a couple of things. We started doing that last night, but you know, this provided a really good forum for it.
Yeah, so, Big Pod has missed you. That's what it was. He was excited to see you here.
Well, you should have seen the chat he sent me last night. It says don't zoom and drive, so you know that was but no, I just want to wish everybody have a happy and safe new year, and hope to see you guys in 2020. It's going to be a hell of a year. So
I agree. All right, Murray, give us the last word, sir.
Thanks, Derek. I enjoyed your trombone solo the other few weeks ago. I've been waiting for. That's the first time you've done anything like that, isn't it? On the
well, people have asked me to play live before, and I never have done it. You know, I was like, "Hey, man," because I always do like pre-recorded stuff of CDs from years past that I've made. And I was like, I pulled out my trombone. I hadn't played in probably almost a year. And I know I can only play just for a few minutes because the muscles aren't built up because I haven't played in a while. It's like I'm gonna record it. And
so can you play taps on a trombone, and can you play taps on a trombone? Oh, Python 2.7, Python.2 is going away in a couple of days.
Yes.
So maybe a trombone ode to Python 2. Happy New Year, everyone. And I enjoyed it today. Thank you.
Yeah, pretty much anything a trumpet can do, I can do on the trombone. It'd just be one octave lower. Josh, give us the last word.
Yeah, thanks, Derek, man, for letting me come on, man. It's it's cool. I really enjoyed talking to all you guys, even though I didn't say much. But
well, you don't have to join in for these. I mean, we've got people that join that didn't even get on camera. They stayed muted the whole time. Some people just like hanging out, and that's cool if that's all you want to do. But if you want to jump in, get in and just tell Big Pod to be quiet, and he'll let you talk.
Yeah. But I mean, I just want to say I really appreciate you, because I mean, you one of the people that inspired me to actually kind of take YouTube seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm loving
Josh has an awesome YouTube channel, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'll link to your channel too in the YouTube chat in case anybody is not already subscribed.
Oh yeah, and I definitely appreciate it. I don't look to advertise, through other people. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know. I just feel kind of weird about kind of asking people and all that. But I mean, I really appreciate you with everything you do, as well as this live stream, man, where you can talk to your patrons. That's like the greatest idea I've seen on YouTube.
Yeah, these are fun. I mean, it's easy. You start streaming, whoever shows up, and a lot of times, I mean, I do a Linux channel, so obviously we talk a lot about Linux, but We get off topic too. I mean, we get into some weird stuff sometimes on these.
Us had a whole stream talking about AI.
Yeah, we talked about the holographic model of the universe one time. We talked about all kinds.
Yeah, those were fun.
Right.
Oh, and I'm glad you brought up my Saints as well.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting ready for the game as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the game. It may or may not matter whether they win the game because depending on what the Packers and the Niners do, if they both win, then this game is meaningless for the Saints. But I'm still gonna watch it regardless of whether it means anything. All right. Well, thanks, Josh, for hanging out with us.
Here, I'm a Patriots Bears fan.
Oh, very cool. Well, I don't know about being the Bears fan, but if the Patriots are doing okay this year, send us out with the last word.
I'm
there,
from
Derek.
Chicago originally.
Well, you got no choice. Then.
Everyone have a happy new year. Sorry about my internet connection over here. It's fixed wireless, so it's not the world's greatest. But I'm looking forward to see what the future has to hold for Linux and gaming. It should be interesting, hopefully.
All right. Well, thank you for hanging out with us, Derek.
Keep it short and simple.
Yeah. And then let's see, Zentor.
Yeah, hello, guys.
Hey, welcome aboard.
Today.
Yeah, well, that's fine. You're in time for our last word, though, if you got something for us.
Well,
no.
Just wish everybody a happy new year and
absolutely
see you next year.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Zentor. And we have yet a third Matt has joined. Too many Matts.
Oh, no. Sorry, that was me. I'm on one chat on the phone, but I had to send Big Pod the copy paste from the error message on Dupliseek, so I had to log into my
I got you.
System, but no, it's same Matt.
Same Matt. Okay. And we skipped over Willie and Matthew Hill. Or either one of you guys there want to give a last word before we go? They are still AFK. Well, my last word is I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me on camera, the patrons that could be here. So appreciate you guys hanging out with me for these last couple of hours. Again, these are fun. I love doing these. All you guys that are hanging out in the YouTube chat as well, thank you guys. And of course, I need to thank the patrons that couldn't be here. So all these names you're seeing on the screen right now, I want to thank each and every one of those guys. All right, guys. Happy New Year. Bye.
See ya.
You too.
Happy New Year.